It's also important to note that you need to have your selection resolution set to the right amount, otherwise the drag and drop method won't work. I'll show you what that means. If I right click on any part of the model and then set selection resolution to geometry, we changed these settings back on the first time we opened up Navisworks, so hopefully they should already be set to first object. But if they weren't, by default it's set to geometry. Now if I left click on this wall, let's do a new wall. So if I left click on this wall, you notice in my selection tree that it's gone down a little deeper in my selection tree. And so if I try and click and drag this over, you notice it won't let me take it off. And that's because Navisworks doesn't let you take off at the geometry level. And so these 5 dots right here, that indicates a group. And then this, 3D cube with kind of 4 spaces in the front, that indicates at the object level. And then just the 1 cube is at the geometry level. So we can only take off from either the first object or the group level in Navisworks. Okay, so that's something important to remember. So if you're having the problem, make sure you right click on somewhere in the model and set your selection resolution to first object. And that'll make it so you can drag and drop with no problems. And so let's say we accidentally took off the wrong model item into masonry wall and then we wanted to get rid of it. So if I click on this model, you'll see that it selects bidirectionally. And so when I click on these in my takeoff detail, it's going to select in the model and the selection tree those same items. So this is not a masonry wall. So you can edit your takeoff by clicking on the item in your detail and then clicking on the update button, and you can say delete selected takeoff. And so that right there got rid of it. You can see it went back to its normal color. It's no longer green. So that's how you can kind of tweak and change your takeoffs if you need to. Now something too that will come up is sometimes you need to model things that, or you need to take off things that aren't necessarily shown. So for instance, if you knew that there was going to be a big opening in this wall, but the model doesn't show it, you can still perform a takeoff for that, even though it's not actually shown. And so if we select our masonry wall condition, because that's where we want our takeoff to go, and I can say virtual takeoff and create in masonry wall, that creates a new takeoff item here that just says no name. And so let's now measure the size of the window. So I'm going to come under here in the Review tab, and under Measure, I'm going to do an area. And I'm going to, just for the sake of the example, click an opening. And so I click on the 4 corners, and then if you can hit escape and it'll jump out of that mode. And so you see that's 83 square feet. And I'm going to convert this to redline. So that creates a viewpoint and then turns it to red. And so it kind of saves that markup that I just did, that measurement. And so now I want to assign that viewpoint to this new no name measurement that I have, because I want to be able to track and see what I had done before. So right now it shows a little camera. I'm going to right click on this camera, and say takeoff viewpoint, and then add update. And so it's going to update with whatever my viewpoint is that I currently am right now, which in this case is that saved viewpoint. So now if I orbit away, you see that red line goes away. But if I come, if I come here and just click on that camera, it pulls up that view of that takeoff. And so it was 83.03 feet. And so I can come in here and put in under the model area and just type in 83.03. And that's how I can have my takeoff of something that's not modeled. And so in this case, it would actually be a negative 83.03, right? Because it's an opening in that wall. So I want to account for that takeoff.